All right, let's talk about why your weight loss has stalled out. You see it all the time. People go on a diet, maybe a carnivore diet, a keto diet, or even some any other diet. And initially, they'll drop 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 100 pounds before they reach plateau. And then it's like nothing moves it. They're like stuck. So what could be going on? What can you do about it? I'm going to talk about the most common things that I see, the reasons for why that occurs, and then how do you fix it? All right, you got your freezer full of meat. You're kicking ass. You've been doing carnivore. You've dropped, a bunch of weight. You're strict. You're not eating any carbohydrates. You got your fat and your protein ratio dialed in, and still your weight is at a plateau. So if you started out 300 pounds and now you're 250 pounds and you're like, well, I could eat, 2 ribeyes a day and I just lost weight. And all of a sudden I just stopped losing weight. What's going on? Is it not working anymore? Well, you have to realize, one, you are now a smaller animal than you used to be. For those out there that's saying calories are irrelevant and have nothing to do with it, it doesn't matter how much you can eat, and you can eat unlimited food on a carnivore diet and you'll never gain weight and you'll lose weight effortlessly, I will tell you that works for some people. For a lot of people, it don't work. You got to cut down how much you eat a little bit. There's a lot of ways you can do this, and we can talk about that. One thing that I see people have success with is some form of fasting. Fasting is not a long-term strategy for success. You can't fast indefinitely. You got to eat at some point, right? Not a lot of people are talking about this. Fasting can be utilized to reset your appetite. If you're used to eating a certain amount and you feel like you need a certain level of gut stretch, a short fast, 48 hours, 24 hours, something like that, you get to the point where like, hey, I'm just not hungry. I don't even want to break the fast. That's a good situation to be in. One, because your energy is being supplied by your body fat primarily, so that's a good situation to be in. But secondly, utilize it to reset your appetite. You can get away with eating a little less food. And when you get used to eating a little less food, it becomes easy to eat a little less food. All right, this next topic is so incredibly important, and it's sleep. Sleep is an essential part of health in general, but it also bleeds over into weight loss. If you are not sleeping well, you are going to struggle to lose weight. A poor night's sleep leads to decrease in insulin sensitivity, which makes it harder for us to access and utilize energy in our body, and therefore we spend more time hungry, and we tend to overeat in many other situations. So we got to dial in our sleep. But one of the things I would say when it comes to clues that I think is helpful is how you position your meals throughout the day. Do you have enough energy to get through the night so that you can sleep well? And also, are you over consuming so much that you're having problems with blood glucose regulation throughout the night? So don't eat big meals at night. Make sure you have just enough energy so that you can sleep soundly through the night. So one thing a lot of people should probably consider, let's get a little stronger. Let's throw some resistance training in there. That has a number of effects on the body which are incredibly beneficial towards weight loss. You end up creating more metabolically active tissue. Muscle is it's kind of metabolic gold. If you can put on some muscle, you're going to position yourself so much better for a lot of reasons, not only when it comes to body composition, which is obvious, but also your resistance to disease, your resistance to aging, resistance to developing cancer and heart disease and dementia, diabetes, so on and so forth. If you're not already doing some strength training, I strongly encourage you to do that. This may be the next lever that pushes you in the direction to just better health. Don't sleep on getting stronger. Let's not be sedentary. Every morning I get up and take the dogs for a walk, and I might go a mile, a couple times a day, generally. It's not that much, but believe it or not, it provides tremendous benefit with regard to blood glucose regulation. It helps with decreasing inflammation. It makes you just feel better in general. It energizes you to where you are actually moving more throughout the day. Remember, there's this concept called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. That's just how much you move. That has an impact, believe it or not, on our health. And also it has a secondary effect on weight loss. Just movement in general is going to help you. If you have a sedentary job, find a way to stand up. If you are sitting, could you be standing? If you're standing, could you be walking? I'm making this video while I'm walking. It's not that hard to do. Think about not being sedentary. So huge victory when it comes to things like weight loss. All right, now this may be a little bit controversial, but there are obviously differences between long-term weight loss strategies and a long-term health strategy and short-term strategies. In general, a long-term strategy is to make sure you get adequate protein, make sure you're not over-consuming energy, make sure you're eating a diet that is basically based on whole, unprocessed, natural food. Certainly things like a carnivore diet are wonderful for that. But when it comes to short-term weight loss, they can be leveraged from time to time if and this is a big if after you lose that short amount of weight, you maintain it. Because what happens is your body prefers homeostasis. It likes being where it is. It doesn't like change. Change is stressful. The body fights against change. So think about, some of these short-term weight loss strategies, which may include fasting. They may include things like protein restriction, fat fasting, sugar fasting, if that floats your boat. Do that for a short period of time. Lose the 5, 7, 8 pounds, and then just maintain it. Just do whatever it takes to maintain that for a couple months. And so that becomes your new normal. That becomes your new set point, and then your body will stop resisting you so much on that. It's just eating a little bit less. That helps really tremendously. You kind of change what you're used to. These short-term strategies are not something you can do for a long time. They're not going to work. You're not going to do that indefinitely, but you can use them strategically. If your thyroid is sick for whatever reason, let's say you have hypothyroidism, you have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, and it's undiagnosed, that can certainly be a reason for unexplained weight gain or difficulty losing weight, and you should have it, examined and checked out. This is something that can be often managed with medication if necessary, but more importantly, it's something that potentially can be reversed through interventions to include, helping gut health and things like that. What we do at Revero has been so important for helping people. We help them heal their gut, and a whole host of chronic diseases just get better. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so if you're interested in support to help you on your weight loss journey, to help keep you accountable, to help you every step of the way, and to be in contact with you on a very regular basis, sometimes on a daily basis, come check out Revero. With regard to gut health, sometimes those healthy foods that you think you're eating are actually causing problems with your gut. So pay attention to the symptoms of your gut. Are you bloated? Do you have a lot of gas? Is digestion very noticeable? Those things are indications that the gut is off. It could lead to downstream inflammation. It could lead to things like hypothyroidism. You need to address that. The quality of our diet is just as important, if not more important, than how many calories you eat or something like that. Anyway, that's some thoughts on what might be stalling your weight loss. There are other things out there, but this gives you a general framework. In my view, there are 5 essential things that contribute to health. One is clearly our nutrition, probably one of the most important, if not the most important factor. The second thing is how well and how much we're sleeping. Incredibly important. After that, it goes into activity level. Are we active? Are we sedentary? Be active, don't be sedentary. Exercise is kind of a bonus beyond that, but the major benefit goes from sedentary to active. Exercise and all that stuff is just frosting on the cake, if you will. How do we mitigate stress? How do we deal with stress? Stress drives inflammation. Stress drives disease. Some stress obviously is good, but there's a lot of negative stress out there. So if you can remove yourself from a stressful situation, discontinue hanging out with stressful people if you can. I know some of it's unavoidable. Sometimes it's as simple as doing some basically deep breathing. And then the final one I think that's really important is our relationship with our circadian biology. That is to say, how do we interact with the day-night cycle? Are we getting sunshine when we need to, at the appropriate times of the day? So think about those things. Altogether, they should lead to an improved health. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, how did you break your weight loss stall? What kind of things did you try? And looking forward to reading the comments. Y'all, take care.